Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
It is a great joy and honor and privilege for me to come back to Baltimore Church. Many of you know my ties back to this congregation began back in '89. That is when I actually moved to Columbia, Maryland, doing the ministry in Washington and Baltimore area. More than that, I was born and brought up as a strong Marthamite. My father was the headmaster of the Baltimore Church, Baltimore of Baltimore for years and years. And so my mother, who is 95 years old, who is living in Tampa, Florida, is very frequent, even with a walker, a church goer. My two brothers are actually active in the Baltimore Church in Boston and in Tampa, Florida. Luckily, I have three sisters with me who've been married into Orthodox husbands, so they are my strength in my strong Baltimore family. The world we are living in is a challenging world. There are so many uncertainties out there. People doesn't know as to what is going to happen to you and me on a given moment in our lives. Many of us are running in our lives as nothing can touch us. Nothing can interfere in our day-to-day lives. And we are in this journey without really understanding as to what is the purpose in our lives. I'll tell you a couple of stories of recent incidents that happened. A Pakistani family, a migrant into US of 30 plus years. The husband worked and saved. After 30 years of saving, finally he was able to buy a home and bring great joy to the husband and his three children. They moved into this home, and they even went to the extent of bringing a chandelier for the entrance of the house. And they were living in great joy of this wonderful gift they have received in their lives. They invited an electrician to come and hang the chandelier. And he came, the 30-foot high chandelier went up on the ladder. The electrician could not hold that by himself. So he asked the father, "Can you come and help me?" So he goes up this ladder, went up, and as he was helping, he slipped and fell and broke his spine. This is the life we are living in today, with so many unknown factors in our lives. And of course, he died from that fall. Can you imagine? He worked for 30 plus years, saved, and finally their dream came through to move into a beautiful home. All collapsed, surrounding them in just simple 3 days. Now that wife, the mother, who never worked in her life, those children who are in their high school, don't know where to turn. That is the life we are facing in this world we are living in. A friend of mine's boy in Bangalore finished his high school, and he always wanted to have a motorbike. The father was so happy to surprise him with the motorbike as soon as he graduated from his high school. The first day, mother and the father and the younger brother were standing by that fence, by the gate, and the boy, 18 years old, was just simply pulling off their driveway into the busy street. Before they even had a chance to wave, and he was run over by a private bus that came by. It doesn't end there. They had an amazing funeral for the boy. After the funeral, all the families disappeared, and then the father and the mother and the younger child, who was 15 years old, came into the boy's bedroom. The father, without being able to face what he lost in his life, the precious, most precious things for us, our children, being lost. And he sat on his bed with a broken heart. And he collapsed and died on his bed. This is the world we are living in. If you believe that you and me are in control of our destiny, we are the biggest fools. We are the biggest fools who are living in a fantasy world without knowing that there is a God above us who is a master architect, who designed us, who planned our lives before you and I been even born. That is a fact that we don't understand and we don't comprehend. We tend to feel that if our lives get somehow altered somehow, and we complain. I say that when I wake up in the morning, I'm grateful to God. Many of us get up in the morning to complain. Oh, that traffic. And I got to deal with the wife. I deal with my husband and my children. But the fact is that God has given you and me another morning to be blessed. Yet we wake up to complain in our lives. In this 2016, it's about to end. You've got about a week left to end. There have been 70, if you don't know the facts, there have been 79 terrorism attacks across the globe. Over 200,000 people died in this past year alone. Can you imagine? That is the world we are living in. There is so much hatred. There is no more love across the aisle. There is no respect for human lives. A man walks into a club in Orlando and kills 49 people. That is the world we are living in. There is so much hatred. There is so much no respect for human lives. It all begins with us. How many of us make that kind of an impact in our neighbor's house, in our friend's house, and so on? Even when I come back from the altar and look at the congregation, people are forgetting to smile these days. It's almost like the entire world is sitting on their shoulder. I'm saying, you are the biggest fool. It's not sitting on your shoulder. If you die today, guess what? The world is going to go on. The most important thing for us to worry about is what is the legacy we are leaving behind in our lives. But we know of something this evening. There's an amazing God who came and made promises to you and me. Look at the genealogy of Jesus. If you read Matthew and Luke very carefully, the genealogy of 77 ancestors of Christ been mentioned in both in Matthew and Luke. And if you look at them very closely into the lives of those men, Many of them were sinners. Here in the Bible is teaching us about the genealogy of our Christ Jesus. And we look at that, it is talking about murderers, cheaters and liars and so on as the ancestors of Christ. But the story we need to understand is that the grace of God found them and changed them in their lives. And many of them went on to become great things in lives. Through this story, we are learning that Christ was fully human, which means He understood our sufferings and our challenges, our pain in our heart. If you look at the story of Christ and His announcement of coming into this world, I want you to take home today 3 statements that have been made, that have been read today also through the Gospels. When the angel Gabriel came to Virgin Mary, who was about 13 or 14 years old, and you can imagine Mary was just to be married to Joseph. I'm sure Mary was imagining and fantasizing of an amazing wedding day. And that night changed her life. Gabriel comes and says, Mary, I know you've been dreaming at night. I know you are dreaming of that honeymoon in the Sea of Galilee on a boat. Guess what? I have a surprise for you. You're going to be bearing the Son of God. And you can just imagine the face of Mary. What? I've never been close to a man in my entire life. How is that possible? And she knew in her mind that the punishment for adultery was stoned to death. And all those fear in her mind, all those embarrassment and all those things went through her mind. Seeing how perplexed she was, Gabriel says 2 words that I want you to remember always. Do not fear. Don't fear. That is the message that Gabriel left behind for Mary. Don't be afraid, Mary. And she took that to heart and said, I am thy maid. God's will be fulfilled. And Gabriel went from there to see Joseph. Joseph was laying on his bed dreaming about that amazing honeymoon in the Sea of Galilee with Mary, who was 13 or 14 years old. Gabriel told Joseph the same thing. Guess what, that girl you are about to marry? I know you're dreaming of that. She's going to bear it. And he said, no, I never been near her. I never touched her. It's not possible. It is not humanly possible. And Gabriel, seeing that jaw drop of Joseph, told him exactly the same thing. Do not fear. Do not fear. Do not fear. And hearing that word of comfort, hearing the word of assurance, Joseph regained himself and accepted the will of God in his life and Mary's life. It doesn't end there. After the birth of Christ, Gabriel also appears to the shepherds, who were the unrighteous. They were the looked down upon. They were the abused by the Jews at that time. And here, the good news of his coming into this world was first announced to the shepherds. Because God knew they were suffering and struggling, and they were oppressed and persecuted. And God showed them the assurance and said, Don't be afraid to hear this wonderful news of His coming into this world. So my dear friends, whatever the struggles that we are going through in this world, you walk into a doctor's office, you come out with cancer. You had a couple of coughs, you come back with cancer. This is a world we are living in, that we are uncertain of our tomorrow or this evening. And whatever the challenges you are facing in your life today, as you are sitting here, I am very certain that each one of us are facing something in our lives. There is something that is troubling as well as troubling us in this evening before Christmas. Whatever that is, Christ is telling us this evening, bring it to Jesus. Is that the major problems that you are having in your life? He is telling you this evening, bring it to Jesus. Is that your health issues you are facing this evening? If you feel like your world is collapsing, He is telling you this evening to bring it to Jesus. Is that the trouble that you are having with your children? Is that the challenges you are facing with your children this evening? God is telling you, bring it to Jesus. Is that the financial troubles you are having in your life? Don't try to do it yourself. Don't try to handle by yourself. And He is telling you this evening, bring it to Jesus. I'll tell you one more story and stop. A story of a wonderful woman I met, Victoria Brown. Vicky Brown, this is not a made-up story. Vicky Brown, an amazing lady, one of the richest ladies in the US. And she would fly from California to New York, to Florida, to Tennessee, to Oklahoma City, making deals, million dollar deals. She had her own private jet. She was into the aeronautical engineering field. Vicky had an amazing life. Vicky was the envy of the neighbors. Vicky was the envy of her siblings. Vicky was the envy of her parents and her classmates from school. Everybody wanted to become like Vicky Brown. She had an amazing husband, a beautiful, handsome husband, a perfect husband. She had one boy who was 7 years old. She had money that she didn't know what to do with. And I'm sure many of us dream of that kind of a life in this world we are living in. One morning, Vicky woke up where she was sitting on top of the wall, and she didn't find her husband with her on the bed. They went to sleep. Vicky went into the living room and found him sleeping on the couch. Vicky said, what happened? And he said, Vicky, I'm going to file for divorce. Here, Vicky was sitting on top of the wall. She was in full control of the happy, envious life that she was leading. Within a week, their world collapsed. And he actually filed for divorce. And she didn't want to fight, and she signed. 2 weeks later, 2 weeks later, Vicky was not feeling that well. She goes into Stanford Hospital. After running a few tests, the doctor pulled her into his office and said, "Okay, I have bad news for you. You have a tumor the size of a small grapefruit in your chest." Here, 2 weeks earlier, Vicky was sitting on top of the world. Here, slowly, her world is unpeeling. It's falling apart. And the doctor gave her less than 3 months to live. We can't do anything at all. We wish we could help you. And Vicky, her dream was this: "Doctor, can't you extend my life just through this time, Thanksgiving and Christmas? I want to spend one more Thanksgiving and Christmas with my son, who is 7 years old." The doctor said, "I wish I could, Vicky. The only person who can help you is a power of powers known as God." Vicky went home unhappily. And then she was diagnosed with meningitis. She was back in the hospital. Now the 3 months became a couple of weeks. They couldn't touch her. She was infested with the cancer cells throughout her body. They couldn't even touch her. And even then, Vicky asked for just one more Thanksgiving and Christmas with my son. That night she was in the hospital. Vicky had a dream that she was on a 747 and she had a fully booked and fully loaded 747. She was flying in economy class. She never flown in economy class. And she was enjoying that flight. She opened her eyes and saw that flight was going down. It is crashing. It is going down. And she looked to the right, to the window. This plane was just heading down straight. She looked to the right. There was a man who was sitting there and he was in a panicky mode. There was a man who was sitting to the left of her. She had a center seat. And he told Vicky, "Vicky, I want you to get from your seat and walk into the cockpit and land this plane safely and save the 400 plus passengers you have on this plane." And Vicky said, "Who, me? I never flown a plane in my entire life. I don't know how to fly a plane. It's not possible. And we're going to crash and we're going to die." And the man turned to us and said, "Vicky, I'm going to walk with you into the cockpit. I'm going to hold your hand and walk you into the cockpit and show you step by step how to land this plane." So he took her by her hand and walked into the cockpit. And Vicky landed this plane safely and saved the 400 plus people on that plane. As she was coming out of that cockpit, the man said, "I'm going to take you with me, Vicky." And she said, "I've been suffering and struggling all these years. Please, I can't take this pain anymore. Please take me with you." And then he disappeared. Then Vicky woke up from her dream in her hospital bed. 2 days, 3 days later, the doctors are seeing some kind of improvements in Vicky's health. They ran some tests and found that the tumor of the size of a small grapefruit from her chest disappeared completely. Today, Vicky asked for one more Thanksgiving and Christmas with her 7-year-old son. Today Vicky is witnessing on television that Vicky not only spent one more Thanksgiving and Christmas with her son, and she spent 25 Christmas and Thanksgiving with her son, who is also married now. He has grandchildren. That is a God you and I know. An amazing God who sees our pain and suffering and struggling in our lives. Today, Vicky has sold all her wealth. She has no more a plane. She sold her business. And Vicky is just like you and me, wearing ordinary clothes. And guess what? She spent all the money, billions of dollars she made, to help the poor and the suffering and the struggling across the globe. Vicky says, I have a purpose in my life. I have a purpose God has shown me in my life. I was sitting on top of the world by myself, but that is not the master architect's plan in my life. I was going in this direction. He bent me to turn me around towards the path He has promised me. So this evening, my dear friends, whatever struggles you are facing in your lives, bring it to Jesus. It's an amazing, powerful Jesus that you and I know. Many of us face challenges that we can do it ourselves. We can meet ourselves. We can face ourselves. We cannot find solution ourselves. So He's asking to make some kind of meaning to this Christmas. God is with us. What does that mean? He is truly with us. He is our power and our strength and our courage in our lives. Let Him hold your hands. Let Him hold your hands. Let it go. Let it go. Don't get into your car and say, God, I'm going to drive this car. You sit right here and bless me where I'm going. It ain't going to happen. That's what we want. We have a plan to go in this direction, and we want God to be right here next to us and bless us where we want to go. That is not what His plans are. So on this Christmas Eve, my dear friends, turn towards Christ and make Him the utmost priority in our lives. Make Him the Savior in our lives. He's a perfect Savior who just wants you to turn towards Him as a part of the Sunday and make Him the highest priority in our lives. If you do, we all will be smiling regardless of what we are facing in our lives. It could be raining outside, doesn't make any difference. It could be snowing outside, doesn't make any difference. We'll be smiling and we will rejoice in Christ Jesus. May this Christmas be that change in our lives, making our lives to walk the life of Christ, to be Christ-like, to be compassionate and loving and caring in all we do in our lives. May God bless us all again. I really appreciate the for Zamjan asked me and the for me, and it's been a blessed Christmas Eve. And thank you for giving this opportunity to come and preach you the word of God. God is an amazing God. I want you to know Him. I want to turn towards Him and make Him the priority in your life. And He will hold your hands and help you to walk this life. God bless you and Merry Christmas.